Yeah, it was actually over my birthday, which I have a lot of birthday stories because I always go to Santa Rosa for my birthday. But this time we went to San Miguel and the waves picked up and whatever. And I did not bring food like they always tell you to bring extra food. So we're literally having potlucks with everyone in there. I'm mooching off of everyone else. I was the only person that didn't bring extra. I felt like an idiot. But it was my birthday. Come on. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I remember because Joe and I were on the boat out with you guys and we were talking, and then I remember thinking, oh no, they're not going to Miguel.
There are worse places in the world to be stuck. I'll say that.
Definitely. So, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, we went, actually, I'll be talking about it in a minute, but the last trip to Santa Rosa was in November, and I got to bring a buddy from Brooklyn, New York, who had never been even camping before, much less backpacking. So he loved it. He's like, I can't wait to come back, so yeah, it's very exciting.
It's a good thing you didn't break him.
I know.
I was like, this could go really, really bad, but
yeah, one of two ways.
Yep.
So Genoa, it's 5:35, so why don't we go ahead?
Awesome. All right, great. Well, I'm Genoa. I am SRIRS's new engagement intern. And I'm really excited to get to know you, Matt. I've heard a lot of stories, similar ones actually that we just heard. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say and your relationship with the islands. It sounds really special. So yeah, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Like I said earlier, I could talk about the islands all day.
I don't know, Jason, if we've spent too much time together. My name is Russ Bradley. I'm the director of the Santa Rosa Island Research Station. Very happy to have you here, Matt. Very happy to have everyone here and everyone who's watching these recordings. We're very excited about these Thursday speaker series, continuing this throughout this semester, even over Zoom, creating great opportunities for people to learn about the Channel Islands, learn about careers in these places, learn about the amazing people who are working in these types of spaces and their own career paths. And just very excited to have everyone here. And these meetings will also be a forum for some updates on programs and such that we have. And so we hope to get more students to these and are just thankful for everyone for attending. So we could do, if you want, Genoa, do you want people to go around and just do a real quick hello of who the folks are? Or do you want to go straight to the talk?
No, actually, I think that since we have such a small group this evening, I would love to have everyone introduce themselves, maybe share your connection with the islands, what brought you here tonight, that sort of thing.
Great. So I'll pick Robin to go next.
Good evening, everyone. Robin Shea, Assistant Director, Santa Rosa Island Research Station. I've been working on the islands for 16 years now, and have worked for all but the Navy as far as land managers go in varying capacities. I will popcorn over to Jason Isaacs.
Everybody, my name is Jason Isaacs. I'm a faculty member in the computer science department at Cal State Channel Islands. I do work related to sometimes robotics, sometimes sensor networks, sometimes machine learning and data processing. And I've been to Santa Rosa Island at least 2 times, I think 3 times. And I think the 2 times that I've been that I remember distinctly were for the SURF summer research program. So we come out there with the new research students and spend a weekend as a kind of a retreat to kick off the program. I guess I'm supposed to pick someone else. I'll pick Chris, the guy with the cat.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris. This is my cat Pretzel. I used to be the co-president when this was like the organization, when I was like still a thing last year, and I've also like kind of I've been to Santa Rosa 2 times and Santa Cruz 2 times, so I definitely love the islands and try to get out as much as I can. And I'm an environmental science major, finishing up my last semester. Yeah. And I guess I'll pick Jack.
Hey everyone, I'm Jack. I'm a senior ESRM student at CSUCI. My capstone project actually deals with Santa Cruz Island. We're kind of creating a comprehensive place name layer of the island, and I got the privilege to go there over the winter. That was my first time at any of the Channel Islands, and it was awesome. I've been like thinking about going back like ever since. And I got accepted to the Santa Rosa Summer Field Studies program over the summer. So really looking forward to being a part of that and getting out to the islands more. I guess I'll go to Aspen.
Hello, I'm Aspen. I work for the research station. This is going on my 4th or 5th year or something like that. I graduated ESRM back in 2017, and since I was in field school in 2015, I got hooked and have tried everything I can to be out on the islands as much as I possibly can. So like Matt was saying, being away for these couple months over the winter break is making me feel kind of weird. So it'll be nice to hear about all his travels around the island. I think that's everyone, right?
Yeah.
Chris, nice to see you again. Glad you're back. All right. Sorry, Genoa. Go ahead.
No, that's totally fine. I'm glad that we're seeing some familiar faces. That's a great thing. So yeah, Chris, thanks for coming back. But yeah, so I think that wraps up our introductions for this evening. Matt, you had a slideshow, I think, prepared for us tonight.
Yeah, I do. And I think what I'd like to do is just kind of, because it is a small group, please feel free to interrupt at any time and ask questions. I want it to be interactive, and I want to, it could be boring, and I don't want that ever, although I get pretty excited with everything, so it shouldn't be boring. But are you able to see my screen there? Santa Rosa Island. All right, perfect. Got a thumbs up. Okay, so I titled this Santa Rosa Island a place of education, health, and hope, because that is truly what it does for me. And there's people on this call that have been instrumental in that. Robin and Aspen, and you guys from the beginning, kind of, I was just, and I'll kind of go through how I found Santa Rosa Island, but didn't know what I was doing at all. And you guys really welcomed me in, and it has now become just so much part of my life for real. I spread the word about the Channel Islands, and specifically the research station, what that does. And this will kind of explain why. But so I am a principal engineer with Dell Technologies. I've been working with Dell for Dell for 11 years now. And I'm what's called a technical account manager and a principal engineer. And so for the first 8 years at Dell, I was part of something called the SWAT team. And what that did was it went into, I work a lot of data centers. And for those that don't know what that is, it's where all the data is stored. It's email, your big email servers and your databases and that kind of thing. And as an engineer, I would go in and I would fight the fires. Basically, I had 24 hours notice to be anywhere in the world. And so I would get called and literally say, hey, there's 80,000 email boxes in Tokyo that are going up and down. We don't know why. And I'd hop on a plane within a few hours, and 16 hours later, be in Tokyo working. And so my job was more to bring the engineering, bring a face to Dell so that the customer knew that we cared, and then to work with our engineers to make sure that we were doing the right thing and treating the customer right. So that was kind of where I came from back for my first 8 years with Dell. About 5 years ago, something like that, I got asked if I could work on a contract in the space industry. And my background was space here at Vandenberg Space Force Base. And so I started a contract with United Launch Alliance. And so I still work for Dell, but I'm on contract with ULA. And I work on their Delta and Atlas rockets, and specifically on the networks that it's really odd, but there's air conditioning to the rockets and to the payload. So the spacecraft itself has to maintain certain temperatures. And kind of an interesting fact is, if you ever watched the space shuttle when it was going up, you'd always see it twisting like that. You remember that? And you'll see rockets doing the same thing. And it's literally to keep the heat of the sun even on the whole thing, so they can keep, so one side isn't 100 degrees hotter than the other side and that kind of thing. So for a while, it'll just spin like that. And anyway, while it's on the ground, there is a system called the environmental control system that runs all of the air conditioning, humidity, and all that, all up and down the rocket to special parts on the rocket and also to the satellites. And the customers will say, hey, we need this chip to not get over this temperature, that kind of thing. And so our group kind of maintains that. And so I work the networking side of that. It's very odd. I mean, most people are like, I didn't know that rockets had air conditioning, but they do. So that's part of what I do now. And so another point of interest there is when you see the rocket take off and you see all those things on the top kind of disconnect, some of those disconnections are actually our thing. They're the communications for the rocket itself while it's on the ground. And they're also the air conditioning system. The bigger pipes that you see are the blowers and all that kind of stuff that are blowing into the rocket. We actually have video that as it's going up, we make sure that the door slides down. Not that there's anything we could do if it didn't, but we want to make sure that that door slid down as the umbilical, we call it, releases from there. So anyway, that's kind of what I do for a living now. I love it. I love it. Love it. It's space has always been where I wanted to be. And I was actually in the Air Force out here at Vandenberg many years ago, before some of you were born. 94 to 98, I was stationed out here. So anyway, so that's kind of where that's me right now. So my background is actually from 10 years old to 17, I grew up in a little country called Suriname, South America. And my parents were actually missionaries there. And in that, we lived deep in the jungle for periods of time with no running water and no electricity. So it reminds me, Santa Rosa Island with with no water and no anything, it reminds me of some of the stuff I went through in Suriname, but I love it. I mean, it was in my blood. So anyway, I lived there for 7 years, and I actually came back to the US to graduate from high school in Arizona. But part of what I wanted to talk to you guys about is education, because education is a passion of mine, but it's mostly alternative education. And why I say that is because I was an absolutely terrible student. I mean, I grew up, like I said, in Suriname. I did go to some traditional schools. I was also homeschooled for a time, but I never got good grades. I mean, through junior high, through high school, it was terrible. And I would be what they call a late bloomer. I was just like not interested. And I remember my parents, I remember my teachers always being like, you're smarter than this. Why don't you, do better? And I say that because a lot of you are educators, and a lot of you will be educators if you're students, whether you're going to be formal educators or just working with people, you're going to be an educator. And one of the things I wanted to challenge you guys is, for kids like me, I think there's probably about 40% of us, maybe 60% out there that don't fit that mold, right, of the traditional school system, really struggle with it. And but there were key people that encouraged me in life and helped me really get through, right? And helped in an education that was different than our traditional education. So these are some of the pictures of when I lived in the jungle. The one on the top right is my dad and I in a canoe. When I was 10, I had my own canoe. Most kids get their own bike. I got my canoe. So the little building on the left there was one of the village, just the village houses we lived in. And it's actually up on stilts because it would flood quite often. We're right in the Amazon rainforest. And so anyway, very fun childhood. And honestly, best childhood I could ever imagine. But getting back to my education here, I graduated high school, and I shouldn't say this in a public forum or on YouTube, but I'm going to, with a 1.8 GPA, right? So my teachers basically said, you've got to get a D or we're not going to let you graduate. And I got the D. I was able to pull it off and graduate. But why I show this picture here is some of the people that were so instrumental in my life. And the first one, the top right there, is my dad and I. And my dad saw something in me. He knew that I was not doing good in school, obviously. But he said, well, how can he change that? How can he help that? And he knew that I was really into skateboards. And so one of the things he did was he said, you know what? If I buy you the tools and I buy you the wood, will you go out and make ramps for you and your friends and for the community? And that was very critical. The community thing is very in my blood. I want to help community. And my dad was really a part of that. He knew in building a ramp that there's a lot of math in ramps. I don't know if you know that, but if you think about it, all the angles, you want to either be vertical or you don't want to be vertical, all this kind of thing. So I learned so much on just all the angles and all the math with that because my dad saw that. And he was like, hey, he's not doing good in school, but I bet he'll be doing good if I help him this way, right? So I just wanted to say, again, these ways of education aren't the way that we always think they are. It may be something totally different that really helps us out. The other person that was critical, and you know what, I'm going to turn on a light real quick because I just realized it's getting pretty dark in my office. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. The other guy here is the guy on the bottom right is Mr. Genstead, John Genstead. And the honest truth, the terrible truth is he just died of COVID, like just a couple months ago. This man was instrumental in my life and truly miss him. But one of the things that he did was, and that's a picture on the left. You can see we're in a Jewish synagogue there. And he taught us comparative religions. And the thing that I learned from Mr. Genstead is that all people matter, right? And we have this thing now in society of diversity and inclusion, and it's great, but it all comes down to respect for each other, right? And it really does. And Mr. Genstead taught us that, and he taught us. We went into Buddhist temples and Hindu temples, and you can see here the Jewish synagogues, and he would always say, first, we're going to respect them and we're going to respect their traditions. So if they tell you to take off your shoes, take off your shoes. Don't give them attitude, don't, just be loving, be respectful. And it turns out that these people can teach you something. And I love that. And I believe that about every human right now. I mean, all the way down to the homeless guy and the drug addict and all that. I have such a deep respect for those people because of Mr. Genstead. And so I'm giving a shout out to him because I want to be like that guy. I really do. So let's see. Moving on here, there is the ramps that I built, and I definitely wasn't good at building right. They looked terrible, and they were terrible. We'd crash all the time, and we never wore helmets or anything. I have no idea how we're alive. I really do not. But that's me on the wall. It's like a 12-foot wall, so insane again that I didn't die. And my buddy, the guy that's leaning on the ramp on the bottom left, he is my buddy that came out from Brooklyn, New York. So childhood friend, love the guy to death. But so those are some of the ramps. But even in the background, you can see more ramps. And our school allowed us to build ramps everywhere. And so we had community come together and do this. And again, that's kind of what I'm about now is respect and bringing community together, right? So I had to show the skateboard. That's the same skateboard as this hanging on my wall. I think this is 1988. I had a lot more hair. Not that I'm losing it, but that was 80s hair for sure. So anyway, I love that picture. It makes me laugh. It's with my brother. and now Santa Rosa Island, and we come to one of my favorite places in the world, for real. And it part of the reason that I also wanted to talk about the health and healing, I said, of Santa Rosa, is because that's where it started. And this, for me, it started in 2016, and it does get a little personal here. But in 2016, I went through an immensely difficult divorce, and I'm not going to go into details, and but it was, I'll just say it was very unexpected. And overnight, after 20 something years, I was divorced and did not know what to do. And so I called a ranger, a national park ranger, and out of the blue, I mean, I looked up a number for national parks, called this guy up, and I'm like, hey, I just want to get away from humans for 3 or 4 days, but I don't want to be chased by bears, and I don't want to, run for my life from anything. Where can I go? And he said, oh, we have the perfect place for you. He goes, Santa Rosa Island, you got to go there. And so that started, this picture was literally 2 weeks after my wife left. And I went there and spent 4 days in total solitude on Santa Rosa. And talk about an education, I mean, and that's why I say healing and education and respect and all that. When I look at what people that go through trauma have, whether it's a death or a divorce, or whether there's all kinds of things that we have to go through as humans, you can turn to the bottle, or you can turn to drugs, or you can turn to a lot of bad things. You can also turn to good things. And Santa Rosa Island it's my addiction now, right? And it really was birthed out of a very difficult time in my life, but something that absolutely changed me forever, and something that I'm very passionate about now because of how much it changed me. So I've now been to Santa Rosa Island, I think 11 times since 2016. And I've also gone to Santa Cruz a number of times, and San Miguel, but don't worry, Santa Rosa's my place. So the first time I went there, I had not hiked for quite a while. I'm physically in shape and have been, and so I did hiking before, but I had never done some long hikes like I did that in 2016 for quite a few years. And prior, I had done Mount Whitney and Yosemite, some pretty strenuous hikes, and I had my boots from 10 years prior, right? And that's what I brought to Santa Rosa, not thinking about it. And about 8 miles into my first day, the bottom, the sole of the boot started to fall off. And I'm like, man, this is not going to be good, because how am I going to get back to civilization with bare feet, basically? So I'm not making this up. This is a crazy story. But I walked down to the beach. I always carry a pencil wrapped with the duct tape, and if you hike, you got to do that because it fits nicely. So I duct taped my boot up. That lasted about another mile until the duct tape broke, right? And then my boot's flapping again. Well, on the beach, I found a bird that had died with the sharpest beak I had ever seen. And there was a cage, one of the crab cages had washed up, and it had rope in it. And I had a knife. So I sewed my boots back together. I had nothing but time, right? I'm not saying, this, but I literally did sew my boots back together. And I walked another probably 15 miles on those boots.
That's a cormorant.
Is it? Is that what?
Yeah.
Real? Yeah. It was dead, I promise. I didn't kill it. Yeah, but thank God for that cormorant. He saved my life. But so there were the end results of the boots. It's hard to see, but there's thread all the way around the end of the boots, and that's where that was my experience. I did the other thing on that first trip is I knew that there was not a lot of water, but I didn't know where the water was. And do you remember, you probably still have those maps out there that it's a 1-page thing and the map's about that big. You know what I'm talking about? And it says on it, right in the middle, there's an X, and it says Clap Springs, right? And I'm like, okay, I can I can find this, which I didn't. So I did get lucky. I missed Clap Springs, took the wrong turn, even though there's signs, and that's a whole nother story. I don't pay attention to signs, but I probably should. I did find water in San Augustine Canyon, and this was right in the middle of the really heavy drought in 2016. And so that's when I knew, okay, I'm good. I'm going to be able to come back here and do just fine. But anyway, getting back to the solitude of Santa Rosa. When I go there, I am, well, as a professional in the IT world, I'm totally surrounded by blinking lights and just distractions at every second. And I am pretty ADD myself, as you can probably see with me jumping around, but I just live for the solitude of Santa Rosa Island. When I get out there, I have no cell service. I have no, nothing like that. I brought a Kindle and I brought a journal, which I've never journaled in my life, but I now have journaled every time I go out there. And I have thick journals because of Santa Rosa Island. And I love it because it's so healing and it's so, you really do some self-introspection, and so I went out there with prayer and meditation and just, it really changed who I was. Very, very funny story is the second trip out there was right in the middle of the election, the Trump and Hillary Clinton election, right? And I got out there, and so Trump had been elected 2 days prior, and I went out there my second time. I was walking. I often go across and try to find where I haven't been before. So I map out a 10-mile thing and try to hit that and find some water. I was walking, and about 8 miles in, I saw a person, and we started talking. And he's like, "I've been out here for 12 days. Who's the president?" And it made me laugh so hard because I was like, man, this is all over the news everywhere, but we're so remote on Santa Rosa. This guy doesn't even know who the president is. So, but it just really made me laugh. But and this is just, again, I mean, you guys have been there, you know how it is. It's magical to me. I absolutely love it. As I go out there now, every time I have books and like Chumash, ethnobotany, and this little Santa Rosa. I read all these religiously because it's so interesting being able to go out there and look at plants and try to understand them and understand the history of them. And I'm terrible with this stuff. I don't remember the names half the time. I sit there and write down the name and try to memorize it. But the history of Santa Rosa and the education that you can get from just these visits are second to none. Do you guys agree with that? I mean, it's so amazing, is it not? So I just love that about it. And so every time, that is what I try to do. I try to learn more of the plants, and I actually take I'll look at a book and find one of the plants there, and I'll memorize that, and I'll say it over and over because it doesn't stick in my brain, and learn about it and how the Chumash used it and that kind of thing. In Chumash ethnobotany, it's very funny because there is a story in here about the California poppy, and it really made me laugh because it said the Chumash believed that California poppy had magical powers because if boys would give them to girls, they would take advantage of them, or the girls would allow them to take advantage of them. And I'm like, wow, life hasn't changed at all. And it just made me laugh that it was in this book and it was talking about that. But let's see, this was another just unbelievable time out there. And I wish I remember, I should look up the year that this was. Do you remember a few years ago, there were 20,000 lightning strikes on the 5 islands. And I had gone out by myself, pitched my little tent, and there I sat by myself thinking I'm going to turn it into a puddle of goo when the lightning strikes me, because it literally was hitting the water in front of me and would glow. And it would just be like, boom, 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 and most amazing thing I have ever seen in my life, but really scary.
Where were you, Matt?
That was at St. Augustine. Yeah. So it's just Ford Point is right around that corner there. And I saw it come in. I came down along the cliffs there because I figured I might as well get as low as I can. But it was absolutely amazing. And when I got back to the mainland, people were like, "Oh my gosh, we thought you were dead." There was but what an amazing time.
Yeah, Aspen was out on the island that trip too.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that. We talked about it after. That is
I think that's when we met. Yeah. That was crazy.
It really was.
Didn't you have a little bit of a stomach thing that trip?
I don't think that was that. Oh yeah, it was that trip because it was maybe a little bit. Yeah. I drank some yellow water, it was coming down the hill, and I was like, I'll filter it, it'll be fine. And it wasn't fine. I have no idea what I got, but it was not fun. And when you're out there, yeah, let's just leave it at that. I hightailed it, for no pun intended, to the ranger station and said, "Hey, can I stay in the campsites?" And they're like, "Well, you don't have a reservation." I'm like, "Yeah, but I think you want me to stay in the campsites," and they did. So anyway, these are some of the things that as I was traveling around the island that we found. The first top right, and I do not want to misquote anything. I was told by that is about this big, so about a foot long. And when we were looking at the Santa Barbara Museum and I showed them, they said they thought it was the molar of a pygmy woolly mammoth. And they showed a picture of the one they have, and it looks the same. I don't know if it is, but the other one is a tusk of some sort. And that was just right on top of the ground. And so what I do is I took pictures, geolocated it, and then gave it to the Park Service, just say, "Hey, this might be of interest." So, and I got to surf out there. Amazing time. I saw a guy that was hiking with his board all the way to Ford Point across the island. And I was like, "Hey, if I help you carry it, will you let me surf?" And he's like, "Sure." So we got to surf. And then this is my buddy Simon from New York, and we went all the way up to, oh man, I'm trying to remember what the beach is now, but anyway, it's on the north east side, and that's what we're overlooking there. Arlington Canyon is farther up. So
were you at Lobo or Cal?
It's past Lobo. Yeah, it's past Cal. It's north of
Soledad,
yeah, that's what it is. It's Soledad. So so all of this to say, Santa Rosa Island has just been so instrumental for me in just my growth and in learning how to kind of focus inside, not in a selfish way, but actually the opposite, to be renewed and to really figure out what I want to do with my life. And I'm 47. It took me a long darn time to do that, but it has been so cool to do. And so this last picture here is the one on the top right. My wife and I like to help people in the community, and this is just a simple thing that we do. We go to Home Depot, our local Home Depot here, every Black Friday when people are losing their minds. And we buy Starbucks, and we have cookies, and we have cake, and we only serve the employees. We have customers that try to eat it too, but we say, "No, this is for the employees." And then the latest thing that we're doing is this Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And that is, the motto says it all: no kid sleeps on the floor in our town. My wife and I just started a chapter of the nonprofit here in North Santa Barbara County. And we're reaching out to, we actually do fundraising, and we do local bed builds with the community. So we build bunk beds, and then we deliver them to kids in need and kids that literally do not have beds. And so we've just started this up, but I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm saying it because I got a new view of life because of Santa Rosa Island and because of just the peace that I get out there and the healing. And after my difficult time in 2016, every year that I go out there, I'm renewed more, and I just believe more that we can help each other. And I really want to thank the people at Santa Rosa, at your research station, for taking me in, for real. I mean, for just caring for me, for telling me where water is. And you're doing that to people, not only students there, but you're bringing in high schoolers, you're bringing in, all kinds of other, I think the Boy Scouts have been out there, these kind of groups that I think, going back to that alternative education, this lights the fire for kids like me, right? And really changes people's lives. And so anyway, I hope that kind of just, that's my story of Santa Rosa. It's kind of all over the place, but it really means a lot to me. And that's what I got. Is there any questions? And I know it hasn't been technical about IT. I'm happy to answer any questions, but IT gets pretty dry.
Thanks so much, Matt. I wish now, I literally, right before I was on here, I was talking in the very intro meeting with some students from our health science students.
Yeah.
We're planning this trip to go to the island, which is all about wellness and the outdoors and the environment and mental health, and like in all of those components. And now I'm wishing I had just dragged them straight over into this. I just think it is so inspirational, and I think important to recognize the value that these experiences can have as really transformational experiences for all walks of life and all kinds of people. And so just thank you so much for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it. And I guess my question is, how, as someone who is very much in the tech industry and you're involved in building rockets and all this, absolutely fantastic stuff, do you find that, I'm curious how you think of these different experiences. Do you go to places like Santa Rosa to escape that completely and think that there's a complete separation there?
Yeah.
Or is your technical mind, that mathematical, building mind, still present when you're in places like this and when you're looking at structures and stuff? It's something I'm interested in.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and the answer is yes to both, right? One is that it's kind of my safe space to get away from all of it, but at the same time, it engages my brain in a whole different way, right? And some of it is just, how can I do better when I get back, right? There's a lot of self-introspection there, and I love the idea of self-introspection. Like, every morning I try to think, what was there anyone that I hurt yesterday? Was there anyone that I did something that I shouldn't have done? And it's not to beat myself up, it's to say, what can I do differently today? And Santa Rosa Island, when I'm out there, that's constantly what's going through my head, as far as both work, as far as personal, people, how can I be a better employee? How can I be a better person? All that kind of thing. So it's really interesting because it really does release my mind that is fairly overactive often from the technical side, but it brings it more internally. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. And you and Donnie both have volunteered for the research station in the past, where you got to do some building and painting and whatever I cracked the whip on. So I appreciate that, your willingness to do that and help out.
Yeah, my pleasure.
If you had one thing, I have an idea of what I think it would be, but if you had one thing that you could not go to Santa Rosa without, what would that be?
Wow. Man. So I'm trying to think of the, because water is obviously important, but I don't think you mean that, right?
Well, not necessarily. What I was thinking was your map.
Yeah.
Of where all the water sources
are. Absolutely. And that's a great point. And I wish that I had that with me right here, because I have one of those National Geographic maps. And if you guys don't have it, go get it. It's so good. Now, there are errors in it, and I have walked many miles the wrong way, but for the most part, it's very, very good map. Yeah, that's a great point. Aspen, early on, I think my very early on, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2016 or 2017, but it might have been like the first couple times Aspen was out there. I was talking to her about finding water, and she said, hey, we have this interactive water map at our school. And she sent me a link, and it was phenomenal because it's color coded in a way that says where the likelihood of water will be, and it's based on the color. So if it's this lighter color, it's less water. If it's darker, there's more of a likelihood of it. And so I started marking that on my National Geographic map. What was so cool with it, and something I didn't share in the presentation, is that Donnie, my very good friend that I go to the island with often, we decided to do a traverse around the entire island. It's, I think, 52 miles in 5 days. And we needed to mark out water, obviously. You can't carry that much water with you. So we used that map and the color coding to where we felt like, okay, we think that water will be at all these locations, and they were dead on. And so, yeah, it was great. We were able to, we made, we would always have a half day of water with us in case we ran into problems, but we were able to do the entire traverse in a 5-day period.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know the map's looking a little tattered, which means it's well used, right?
Right. I got a new one because I was starting where I couldn't read it.
Yeah, that's one of the most common issues that people have out there. They get dehydrated and don't carry enough water, or maybe don't have a way to record where it is, or have somebody show them where they can navigate to it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I hope you have many more miles ahead of you out there.
I can pretty much guarantee, if it's up to me, I will definitely be doing that. Any other questions?
I have one. Thanks again. That was awesome. You inspire me again. It's really cool to hear that perspective, and I love it. One question that I was thinking about, you talk a lot about the solitude, and I think those of us that have been out there can all agree that that's definitely something that we love about it. And I go to different national parks. I haven't been to that many, and I'm like, I want to go back to Santa Rosa. And so, what's your take on sort of, and like you're saying, you talk to people, you tell them about it, which I believe too, it's a national park. We should all be there. Anyone that lives in America, should be able to go to these places.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the Leopold,
Yosemite, right?
Yosemite.
Traffic.
that thing where it's like, okay, we want all these people to see this place and value it and care about it, but we don't want them to, run it down. Like what's your take on that?
Yeah, and that's a really hard balance. It really is. I mean, because I brought up Yosemite, and I love Yosemite. I go there often. However, it's Disneyland in the national parks, right? I mean, it is literally bumper to bumper traffic, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. So what I guess one of the things I like is with Santa Rosa Island, it's not that easy to get to, right? You still have to go through island packers or take a boat, that kind of thing. So it takes some work. And so I think that'll keep some numbers down. And a lot of the things that I've noticed out there is the people that are out there really want to be out there. Now, there's going to be exceptions that rule, as you guys know, but I love that because just like this group here, we're kind of like-minded people, right? And when you go to the island, you just find the most amazing, Kelly Hill is one of my, I think she and I are probably on par with the most excited non-workers out at Santa Rosa that love Santa Rosa, right? But we talk about it, and it's one of those things that's just, like-minded people. So I'd say, we don't have I think part of it too is education and respect for others, right? And teaching people that it's not respectful to litter or to do things, and for me, I'm not a rule follower, I will say. So it's very important to explain why to me, right? And the answer is not because I said so or because it's the rules. I want to know why, so when someone takes time, and not in a derogatory manner, but when someone takes time to say, hey, these are our rules out here and this is why, I truly believe in that, right? And so again, I guess that's kind of my take on it.
That's awesome. I totally agree with that why thing.
Yeah.
When my mom was totally because I said so, but now in, my role, I try to explain things and it
That's
might
right.
get lost in my rambling, but
Yeah.
at least if, they know some sort of explanation of why we're doing what we're doing.
Totally.
Or you can't do what you're doing.
That's right. That's right. And I think a lot of it is respect and both ways, right? I mean, we have to have respect for that person, but they also have to respect us. And sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's the unfortunate part of humanity. And, but always returning that and it's hard for me to, when I get angry with someone and I kind of lose my mind, trying to remember, hey, they're trying the best they can. And there's something going on that I probably don't know about. So. Any other thoughts or comments?
Yeah, you mentioned that
Yeah, no, go ahead, Chris. I see your skateboard shirt too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you. The Santa Cruz company is one of my favorites, just because its logo is just so, I don't know what it is. It's just, yeah, that's it. A hand with a mouse.
Right, it's in your face.
Yeah.
Yep.
You had mentioned that you've been to the island 12 different times.
Yeah.
Like islands, what would you think is like your ideal time, like your sweet spot amount of time to stay on the island?
That is,
you enjoy it and you're not really, like you said, you had to plan out all those water routes on that one trip.
And I have a straight answer because I know that. So my dream is 5 days, but 5 days becomes really hard to pack for food and everything you need. So 4 days is my magic number. 3, it feels like I'm there and I'm gone, a day later. 4 days is kind of the magic for me for because I always do backcountry. So, I have to pack in my own food. I have to pack out everything, that kind of thing. And we've done numerous 5-day trips and it becomes difficult. It's crazy heavy at the early, with all the food you got, and it gets lighter, but then you're more tired, so that's kind of the answer. I would do the circumnavigate again anytime. That was so amazing. I did almost kill myself, which was absolutely stupid, but I just decided I could traverse a thing that I absolutely know better. And Donnie was like, I'm not doing that. So he went up and he was a smart one. I was the one that's like, okay, I need to think better. So 4 days.
Awesome. Yeah, because I've only ever been out to Santa Rosa on 2 separate, 2-day trips.
Yep.
So I was always curious, like, especially when it comes to the backpacking.
Have you done backpacking before?
I haven't. It's something I want to get some practice with, I think, before heading to the island. Just because it's just so secluded. Like they always talk and I'm allergic to bees. I can't remember if there are bees on the island, but there's just different factors to take into it. I never run into them. I think someone mentioned there are, but I think that was very helpful.
Well, I would love to take you backpacking after you've gotten your first few in, and I'll carry the EpiPen. So
all right, totally. Yeah, I always have a 2-pack on me. Awesome. Yeah, I'll try to stay in touch.
Very good, Chris. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, Matt, I also wanted to say thank you for touching on the importance of alternative education. I'm actually 31 going into finishing my first bachelor's.
Oh, nice.
I had started college, got 2 years into it, and then I just had a very honest conversation with a dean of mine, and I spent the next 10 years as a dive master, bumming around the world,
awesome.
you know, diving and working in a lot of citizen science kind of things. And I think I agree with you completely. It's so, the things that like the research station does are so important. It really does engage that special part of the population that, you know, we just need to get out there and do it.
That's right. And I didn't mention it. I got my bachelor's at 30 and my master's at 40. So it just took me a lot longer than a lot of people.
Same.
Yep.
I'm too interested in everything else. I need to try a little of everything.
All right, any others? Well, guys, I hope this has been fun and informative. I didn't know if there was, you know, what I should talk about and that kind of thing, but I just wanted to share you from a kind of layman's perspective, my excitement with Santa Rosa and why it kind of changed my life, and just say I really appreciate you guys in the research station. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I love what you do, and I really think you reach a lot of people, a lot more. I can promise a lot more than you know you do. So thank you.
We really appreciated you coming in to speak with us. It was such a wonderful, wonderful event. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been great, Matt. It's so good seeing you. And like you were saying, you know, not being on the island for the last couple months, it kind of excites me again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Matt. It's really inspirational and I think very important, and just really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah. And Genoa, do you want to let folks know our next event?
Yeah. So our next speaker is going to be Denise Knapp. She is going to speak on February 24th. She's the Director of Conservation and Research at the Santa Barbara Botanical Garden. So very excited to hear her speak as well. And then, yeah, just a couple more opportunities. I know there's not a lot of people here, but we will be putting this up on YouTube. And I know that there is still just a couple more days before the end of the deadline for the field biology closes. Is that right, Russ?
Yeah, there's a couple. So that there's the interdisciplinary field school or field studies program, that is ESRM, and in anthropology courses in June that we're doing, and that is so for a couple of days. And then there is the other program that's in biology, the special topics course in July. And so that has yet to open up, but that will be opening up soon.
Yeah, I think we have info sessions for that happening in the latter half of February. So that third and fourth week in February for that one. So awesome. I hope everybody to see you on the 24th when Denise is here. And thank you again so much for coming to this event. And Matt, again, thank you so much. It was a wonderful, wonderful speech, and we really appreciate you.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Matt.
See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much.